Michael sat at the kitchen table, staring into a cup of cold coffee. The sky outside the window was a dull, featureless gray. No sun, no rain, just an even nothing, the kind that matched his head. The kettle clicked off, but he didn't move. Where there used to be worry and anger, now there was just silence. Heavy, blank silence. He stood up and walked into the hallway. On the console table lay a single envelope, a termination letter, official, final. 2 short paragraphs, a signature. Corporate restructuring. In truth, they had cut him loose. He'd been holding on to the letter for 2 weeks. He hadn't told Lauren. She came down the stairs, crisp gray dress, heels, not a word. She clipped on her earrings, brushed the strand of hair into place, walked right past him without looking up. Her perfume was high-end, the kind that clung to the room after she left. Her heels tapped across the tile like clockwork. "You ready for lunch?" Michael asked. "I've got a meeting. We said Friday. You need to give me a heads up." She didn't look at him. The front door clicked shut behind her. No anger, no rush, just perfectly timed distance. He glanced at the microwave. 12:20 p.m. They had picked out this kitchen together once. Cream-colored cabinets, handleless drawers, touchscreen vent hood. Now it felt like someone else's house, someone else's family. He didn't live here anymore. He just hadn't moved out yet. He went back to the home office. The laptop screen glowed dimly, half asleep. A spreadsheet waited, something from a small logistics firm, tossed his way by an old contact. Freelance, part-time, barely above side gig territory. But he'd said yes, quietly. No pride left to bruise, just that dry, acidic taste of being quietly erased. Michael wasn't built for idleness, but right now it felt like life was idling past him. 10 years in corporate finance had trained Michael to spot inefficiencies instantly, and now every odd freelance gig felt like charity. Too many resumes sent into the void, too many interviews that ended with polite lies. Lauren walked in around 6:40 p.m., shopping bags in one hand, a bottle of wine in the other. "Are those for me?" Michael asked from the couch. "No, for a client." "Interesting gift choice." "You wouldn't understand. These days people aren't buying square footage. They're buying lifestyle." She shrugged off her coat, hung it up precisely. Everything about her was sharp. Her posture, her tone, her movements. Michael used to admire it. Now he watched her the way you'd watch a stranger behind glass. "Oh, by the way," she called from the kitchen, "maybe don't use the car this week. You work from home anyway." "Is that a suggestion or an instruction?" "It's a budget decision. Times are tight." He didn't answer. The financial reminders had been coming more often lately. One day it was maybe selling the SUV, another canceling his gym membership. Not concern, control, precise, cold, calculated. That night, as she scrolled through her emails beside him, Michael watched her face, expressionless in the blue light of the screen. She laughed once, short and sharp at something she didn't explain. Then she got up and went upstairs. He stayed behind, staring at the half-empty wine bottle she'd left out. A gift, for someone. The room didn't feel like his anymore. Later that night, Michael stepped out onto the back porch. He didn't smoke often, but tonight called for it. The cigarette burned evenly between his fingers. His hands didn't shake. He wasn't panicked. He was just watching himself from the outside, asking when exactly he'd stop being part of his own marriage. Lauren didn't lie directly. She sidestepped. She blurred timelines. He'd ask questions, and she'd answer like he was being overly dramatic or paranoid. Once, she snapped at him. "You're always looking for something to blame. And you're always avoiding the truth. I don't owe you explanations for every minute of my life. I'm not a child." She hadn't yelled, just stated it, like a boundary that was no longer up for negotiation. And just like that, he was out of the loop. He remembered a trip she took a month ago. Said it was a client event up in Seattle. She came back late, too late, but not tired, not stressed, not worn out like she should have been after a 2-day conference. He'd asked her then, "That trip, it really was business, right?" She hadn't even flinched, just smiled, cool and detached. "Are you really trying to start something?" "I'm just trying to understand what's happening here." She shrugged. "Nothing's happening. You're just spiraling because you're out of work." That hit like a verdict. From that moment on, Michael stopped asking and started watching. Around midnight, when she was asleep, he walked to the doorway of their bedroom. Lauren lay perfectly still on her side, like always. She hadn't pulled the comforter up, just lay there with one arm outstretched. Her face was peaceful, closed. He stood there a long time. He didn't want to wake her. He didn't want to talk. Not yet. He returned to his office, dug out an old external hard drive. It still held years of work, his backup files, contracts, case notes, contact lists, proof of a former life, one with order, purpose, wins, a version of him that wasn't invisible. The back lot behind the office building was slick with slush and patches of old snow. Michael stood near the side entrance, a manila folder under one arm, his coat soaked at the shoulders. "Can I go in?" he asked the security guard. "Yeah, go ahead. You're with consulting, leasing review." He held up a temporary visitor badge, laminate peeling at the corner. They'd spelled his name wrong. He didn't bother correcting it. It had taken him a decade to build that name, 2 months to make it meaningless. Inside, the place smelled like stale toner and cheap plastic. Modular walls, yellowing linoleum. He was assigned a seat in the back corner, workstation 17C, and handed a flash drive. The project manager didn't even make eye contact, just tossed out instructions like he was ordering lunch. "Everything's on there. Review the cash flow on the warehouse lease. Something's off, but we can't pin it. Wrap it up by lunch?" Michael nodded. That didn't require a reply. The computer was old, the screen flickered slightly, but he didn't mind. He was good at this part, at numbers. Numbers didn't lie, and they told a very clear story. The warehouse was inflating assets, rent payments recorded, but never processed. Phantom revenue, likely a double book. He'd seen this before, dozens of times. He could rip it apart in a day if he wanted, but none of it mattered now. No bonuses, no promotions, no team, no ownership. What mattered was that he wasn't at home, that he wasn't drifting, that he could still do something. That night, he came home late, not on purpose, just because it felt easier. He dropped a grocery bag on the kitchen counter. The place smelled like lavender and red wine. Lauren was on the couch, laptop open. Nails done, makeup still fresh. "Want me to reheat something?" "Already ate. We grabbed dinner after a property showing." "With who?" "Clients. We had to pitch a new development downtown." She didn't look up. Her tone was clean, practiced, but Michael caught a shift, a slight crack in her rhythm, a hesitation like she was choosing between two stories. "You get paid today?" she asked suddenly. "Partial deposit." "Good. We should update the budget. The mortgage clears Friday and insurance too." "I'll handle it." "Don't get defensive. I'm just keeping us on track." He said nothing, got up, walked to the bathroom, closed the door. Later that night, he opened his banking app. The joint account was missing from the dashboard. Instead, a message: access restricted by primary account holder. He didn't panic. He checked the expense records from the last 90 days. New categories stood out: luxury dining, boutique salons, private transfers. Lauren was spending more, living like someone with backup, someone with options. The next morning, Michael walked into his bank, the same branch he'd used for over a decade. He went straight to the desk. "I need to know why my line of credit was denied." The banker, a young guy in a tailored blazer with gelled hair, flipped through his screen, then frowned politely. "I'm afraid I can't disclose the internal notes, but you didn't meet our lending criteria." "Based on what?" "That's confidential. I know you've been a long-time client, but the decision came from upstairs." He left without another word. He sat in his car in the parking lot for a long time, the engine off. The silence in his head wasn't shock, it was confirmation. That night when he came home, he noticed a box on the hallway floor. Designer logo, not something she normally bought. He peeked. A new pair of heels. They cost more than he made all week. Lauren stepped out of the bathroom, hair damp, towel around her shoulders. "Another late night?" "Traffic. Had a meeting run long." "I went to the bank today." "And?" She shrugged, not even surprised. "Makes sense. You don't have steady income." "Why'd you lock me out of the joint account?" "Because I'm the one managing the household now." "And what am I managing? Pride?" Her tone stayed neutral, as if she were explaining terms to a client. "While you're figuring your life out, someone has to keep us afloat. I'm not going to tank everything just because you're going through something. This is real life, Michael." She walked past him toward the bedroom, her walk perfectly smooth, balanced, assured. No flinch, no apology. He stayed in the kitchen, sat down, opened his laptop, and started sketching out a chart. Names, connections, former colleagues, people who owed favors, and people who quietly turned on him. He wasn't looking at a failing marriage. He was looking at a system. That night, he couldn't sleep. He stepped onto the back porch again. The neighbor's dog scratched softly at their door. Everything was quiet. Michael thought back to something the neighbor had said a week earlier in passing. "Hey, saw your wife the other day. She was getting out of a black Mercedes. She looked good, like glowing." Michael had laughed at the time, not now. He opened his phone and searched hidden surveillance cameras for home use, forensic financial audit services, private asset tracking, U.S. companies. He didn't know exactly what he was looking for, but he knew one thing. He wasn't going to keep pretending. Saturday morning, Michael was up before sunrise. The house was silent. Lauren had left early. No note, just a calendar ping. Client brunch, late dinner, don't wait up. He poured a cup of strong coffee, sat at the kitchen window. The city was still, flat gray sky, not a soul on the street. His laptop blinked. Nothing new on his regular email. But on the encrypted inbox he'd created just days before, a message appeared. Subject: no guarantees. Don't come looking. Attachment: zip file, 47 megabytes. As agreed, you didn't get it from me. Michael stared at the file for a moment, then opened it. Photos, screenshots, 2 short audio clips. He played the first one. Background noise, clinking glass, ambient music, a restaurant. 2 voices, Lauren's and a man's, Low, gravelly. Man, you know you can't just disappear. Lauren, nobody's asking me to. I'm playing it smart. Man, good. Don't turn this into another Delano situation. Michael paused the clip. That name, Delano. He remembered it. Charles Delano, a former financial director who went down in a quiet scandal. His wife left. He lost everything. His name erased from the board of every company he'd ever worked with. At the time, it felt like bad luck. Now, it looked like a warning. He played the second clip. Man, same voice. No texts, no emails. Face-to-face only. I don't want another digital trail like before. Michael clicked through the photos. Lauren, outside a hotel. Black Mercedes. Same license plate his neighbor had mentioned. She was pictured entering more than once, sometimes with papers, sometimes without. Same coat, same heels. He checked the metadata. Timestamps matched her client meetings. Locations within 20 minutes of their house. The photographer had known exactly where to be. There was only one person who could have found this. Renee, his old assistant from back at Ashcroft and Lowell. She'd always had a sharp eye and a stronger sense of loyalty than most. He found her number on an old backup phone. Renee, it's Michael. You weren't supposed to call. I know, but I need to ask. Who is he? Silence. Then, not on the phone. And honestly, I don't even know if you're ready to hear it. I'm not asking. Fine. His name's Ryan Sievers. You worked with him once. He's in private equity now, through a shell group. Michael sat back in his chair. That name. He remembered the handshake, the grin, the deals he'd once refused to sign. And Lauren. She's not a victim. She's his handler. She gets him access, softens the entry. She's the one who brought your name into the game. Michael didn't speak. Renee added, I left the second I saw how deep it went. But she's all in. She knew what you'd do, that you'd resist, so they planned around it. Michael closed his eyes. Thanks. Don't contact me again. You're welcome. I wasn't going to. He ended the call. The screen in front of him felt cold. He stared at the photos one last time, then copied them to an encrypted drive. Titled a folder, Primary Evidence, Level 1. He didn't need theories anymore. He had facts. That night, Michael installed a camera just inside the front door. Small, discreet, hardwired to a private backup drive. No cloud, no Wi-Fi. He tested it twice. The angle was perfect, the audio crisp. It would capture every entrance, every exit, every whisper near the stairs. He didn't know exactly what he was hoping to catch, but whatever this was, this system, this strategy, this collapse, it didn't feel random. And now he needed a timeline. He sat down at his desk and opened his laptop, wrote an email addressed to himself. Subject, if you're reading this, it's confirmed. Body, no apologies, no hesitation. Let the facts speak. Do what needs to be done. He encrypted it, archived it, deleted the local draft. Sometime after midnight, Lauren came home. New coat, hair tied back, makeup untouched. Long night? Michael asked from the living room. Busy one. Where were you? She looked at him, then answered without blinking. Met with a developer, then dinner with a client. We're finalizing a luxury package for the West Side. Michael didn't say a word, just stood and walked to the bedroom. She didn't follow. A few nights later, he reviewed the footage from the hallway camera. Timestamp, 11:17 p.m. Lauren entered, alone. Then, exactly 45 seconds later, a man followed. No words, just soft laughter. He boosted the audio. Lauren, whispering. There. Now everything's in place. He paused the clip.
stood up, grabbed a notebook. He drew a new chart. Connections between Sievers, Lauren, the banks, the developers, old colleagues, past clients. Everything was forming a structure now. This wasn't personal. It was a method. Just before dawn, he stood at the window, watching the neighbor clean frost off his windshield. The sky was barely beginning to shift. Michael remembered something else the neighbor had said casually that week. "Funny thing, she always seems so happy lately. Light on her feet, you know?" Michael went inside. He typed 3 search terms into his laptop. Discreet corporate surveillance setup. Private forensic accountant Denver. How to trace personal funds hidden offshore. He leaned back in the chair. The evidence was coming together, and if this whole thing was rigged against him, he was about to tip the table over.
Midday. Another rejection email. Michael didn't even open the full message, just read the preview. After careful consideration, we've decided to move forward with another candidate whose background more closely aligns with our strategic vision. Rejection number 7. He logged it in the spreadsheet. The pattern was unmistakable now. Every company that had strong interest in him suddenly reversed course 3 to 4 days after the final interview. And each one had some tie, a partner, an investor, a board member, to Ryan Sievers' network. This wasn't random. Someone was actively poisoning his name. Later that day, he met up with someone he hadn't seen in almost a year. Tamara Hayes, a sharp-minded VP he once worked with at a major commercial real estate firm. They met at a quiet cafe near downtown Denver, just off 17th. She arrived early, still crisp, still controlled, but her eyes looked more tired than he remembered. "I don't usually take surprise meetings." "Why now?" "Because I think what happened to me also happened to you." She leaned back, arms crossed. "Go on." "Sievers, the guy who replaced your deal contact 2 months before you got restructured. I saw your name on the audit trail. I know what you blocked." She studied him. No smile, no denial. "You're not wrong. I flagged a third-party vendor with missing ownership records. The next week I got a call about being no longer aligned with the company's evolving strategy. Let me guess, Sievers' people pushed the vendor through anyway. He didn't even try to hide it." Michael pulled out a tablet, slid it across the table. Images, texts, call logs, transaction records. She flipped through them slowly, her face hardening with each swipe. "You're building a case?" "I'm starting one. But this isn't just about fraud. It's personal. He's using Lauren to get to me." She glanced up. "You're sure?" "I have her on video. I have her voice on tape." Tamara closed the tablet and sat back. "I know someone in a bank's risk group. They flagged Sievers' name in at least 2 internal reports. It hasn't gone public yet, but it's moving." Michael nodded. "I don't need to destroy him. I just need leverage." She stared at him for a moment. "I'll make a few calls, but just so you know, you're not the first person he's done this to. He doesn't break people fast. He bleeds them out slowly." Michael stood. "That's fine. I can bleed longer than he thinks." That night, Michael got home just before 8. Lauren was in the living room, laptop open, watching a virtual tour of a luxury condo in Cherry Creek. "Look at this," she said, not looking at him. "This is what people want now. Not starter homes, real wealth, real image." "Client of yours?" "Not yet. Prospect. Sievers connected us." She muted the video. Michael stared at her. "You've been bringing him up a lot lately. Suspiciously calm lately." "It's not calm," he said. "It's focus." She stood and walked past him, paused in the doorway. "If you really think there's something going on between me and him, maybe you should ask why you're so ready to believe it." He didn't answer. She left the room. Later, Michael reviewed the day's footage. Just a delivery. A man with a small package. Lauren had signed for it herself. He checked the label. High-end perfume. Not her usual brand. No note. No invoice. She was in the bathroom when he approached. "New scent?" "Yeah. Gift from a client. 2 property showings today." "Both men?" "Why?" He didn't answer. She looked at him in the mirror, her reflection composed, unbothered. "You know, your quiet act isn't fooling me. I've worked with enough men to know when they're spiraling." Michael stepped out without saying a word. That night, he accessed Lauren's synced cloud contacts, a feature she'd forgotten to disable on their shared account. A number stood out. IG. Irene G. He ran it. It belonged to Greenmark Financial, a firm where Ryan Sievers held a board seat. He leaned back, connecting more dots. That weekend, while sipping coffee in the kitchen, he watched Lauren walk in wearing a white blouse and dark skirt. Hair soft, curled at the ends, a different energy than usual. She made her own coffee, took her time. "Got a full day," she said. "Big names?" "One investor, one luxury buyer." "Cedars involved?" She didn't look up. "Why? Want me to ask him for a job for you?" Michael sipped his coffee. "I'll be out most of the day." "Let me guess, another walk to clear your head." "Not exactly. I'm meeting someone." "Someone who can help with your little theory?" He didn't answer. She stared at him. Then she turned back to her coffee. Michael returned to the office, opened the synced logs again. Multiple calls with that same number. Same days his job offers had fallen through. Same days the bank changed its terms. He leaned over the desk. The system wasn't just targeting him, it was tracking him.
Mid-morning, Michael got a call from a recruiter he'd been in touch with for weeks. It was supposed to be final round confirmation for a strategy position with a well-known real estate investment trust. Instead, "I'm sorry, Mike. I don't know what happened. Everything looked great last week, but one of our funding partners raised a concern. Something about previous conflict of interest?" Michael's throat tightened. "Conflict with who?" "They wouldn't say. Just that you're a sensitive hire." "Look, this wasn't my call." Michael ended the call. He didn't shout. He didn't slam anything. He walked to the window, watched 2 kids across the street shoveling snow off a driveway. Then he went back to his desk, opened his rejection log. Number 8. Flagged. Red box. Reason? External influence. An hour later, a new email landed in his encrypted inbox. Subject: "We don't know each other, but I work under Sievers." The sender was a man named David Linwood. "He didn't just sink your name, he blackballed you deliberately. I have records. I want to meet. I don't want anything from you, except that if this explodes, I'm not the one holding the match." Michael traced the email's metadata. Proxy server, nothing special, but the tone felt real. He replied with a location. Underground parking garage, level -2. Sunday. No cameras, no phones. A reply came 5 minutes later. "I'll be there. Black jacket, no bag." That night, Lauren came home after 11, hair loose, eyes red. She dropped her purse in the entryway, kicked off her heels like she didn't care. You eat? Not hungry. Want me to order something? We're good. Michael watched her. She watched him back. You know, she said finally, you've been playing detective for weeks now, and all you've got are mood swings. You think so? I know so. She turned away, went upstairs. Michael waited, then opened the camera feed. That night's footage showed her walking into the house alone, but glancing behind her before shutting the door, like she knew someone was following, or someone was watching. He didn't sleep. The next morning, he pulled up an old audio file, one of the first Renee had sent. Seaver's voice, clean and cold. No rush. He'll collapse on his own. Money's drying up. Career's already gone. She'll leave. That's the finish line. Michael copied the file to a backup drive, then to a second. He stared at the screen. His hands didn't tremble. They were steady, measuring. This wasn't a warning anymore. It was a plan. And tomorrow, he was going to break it.
The underground garage was dead silent. Level -2, cold air. Fluorescent lights buzzed and flickered overhead, casting pale shadows on the concrete walls. Michael stood by a structural pillar. Gloved hands, winter coat zipped up. No phone, no watch, just a burner keychain with a flash drive in his pocket. Footsteps echoed. A man appeared from the far ramp, mid-30s, cautious, black jacket, no bag. He stopped a few feet away. You, David? Yeah, you're Michael. Let's talk. David pulled out a small tablet, turned it to face Michael. Everything's on here. Email threads, internal memos. Seavers has been feeding suggestions about you to at least 3 major employers. Michael scrolled. The messages were carefully worded, enough to stay legal, but poisonous enough to end any chance at a callback. I'd advise caution. Historically combative during compliance audits. Reputation for instability under pressure. Michael flipped to the next page. It showed metadata. Dates, time, recipients. Copy 2 chains. And the banks? 2 were briefed on you through a third-party financial group Lauren helped set up. She was part of the paperwork, not a ghost, not passive. Michael looked up, jaw tight. So she knew? She didn't just know. She was the delivery system. Michael handed the tablet back. Why are you giving me this? Because I'm next. He cycles through people, uses them, then cuts them loose. You afraid of him? Not yet, but I've seen how fast it goes. Your name's still being sent around, like a warning tag. And you think this is going to stop him? No. But if you drag him into the daylight, maybe someone else will. Michael nodded once. I'll send the rest tonight. Stay out of it after that. I don't need heroes, just proof. David turned. His steps echoed down the ramp. Michael stood alone in the half-light. The garage was still, but something in him had shifted. When he got home, the house was dark. He didn't turn on the lights. He sat down at the kitchen table, uploaded everything to 2 encrypted drives. Then he opened one final file, an audio note. Seavers again. Slight static. If he won't fold, we bring pressure. Lock down finances. She'll push the emotional side. We'll starve him from the inside out. Michael saved it. Titled the file, Operation Glass Trap Full. Then he closed his laptop and waited for morning. The next morning, a reply finally came from the contact he'd emailed weeks ago, someone he'd only met once during an old compliance audit. Marina Costell, Internal Affairs, Financial Crimes Division. I'll meet. Private location. No press, no recording. Send and address. Alone.
He picked the perfect place. An old server storage unit in a shuttered tech park outside Denver. No cameras, thick walls, no signal interference. A place built for secrets. He arrived first, brought 2 encrypted drives and a printed timeline with dates, names, and screenshots. When Marina arrived, she wore no badge, just jeans, a long wool coat, and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "You're not the first guy I've seen like this," she said, after a quick look through the files. "How many have there been?" "This year, 3. 1 left the country. 1 disappeared. 1 tried to fight and got buried in lawsuits." She slid his evidence back toward him. "But yours is different. It's organized. You didn't scream. You observed. That's rare. Can you move on it?" "Not officially, not yet. But I've been circling Seaver's group for a while. I didn't know about your wife's involvement." Michael shook his head. "She's not involved. She's embedded. She's the one who got me out of the way, so she could help him operate unopposed." "Do you think she's still just a pawn?" "No. I think she's a contractor, a smiling front. And I think she's done this before." Marina nodded slowly. "If you're right, we're looking at a multi-tiered fraud ring. Not just shady deals, active suppression of careers, weaponized bank influence, financial entrapment." She opened her notebook. "I'll start the chain, quietly. But you'll need to keep feeding me. And you need to be prepared." "For what?" "You're being watched. Phones, home devices, email, they've already been flagged." Michael leaned back. "Good. Let them listen." Later that day, back at the house, Lauren was already dressed when he came in. Tight black slacks, pale pink silk blouse, light makeup, expensive perfume. The kind of look you put on when you want someone else to notice, not your husband. She glanced up. "You're home early." "Meeting ran short." "Mine didn't. I'll be out late." Michael nodded. "With Seavers?" She didn't answer. Didn't flinch. She just turned away, grabbing her bag. "You're wasting time chasing shadows." "Not shadows. Patterns." She paused in the doorway. "You used to be better than this." "I was never the problem." She left. That night, he watched the front door footage. She left in a rideshare, not her usual one, wearing a smile he hadn't seen in years. Michael closed the feed. Then he opened the next phase of his evidence folder. Labeled it. Target Response, Phase 2. Tomorrow, he wasn't going to wait. He was going to knock first.
The sky over Denver was steel gray when Michael pulled into the driveway. He'd just come back from a quiet, off-the-record meeting with Marina Castell. She hadn't promised justice, but she'd promised traction. That was enough for now. He parked, pocketed the keys. The house looked still from the outside. Warm lights on, front blinds drawn. Lauren's car was in the garage. He entered quietly. The entryway smelled faintly of her new perfume, rich, unfamiliar. The living room was empty. Her bag sat on the couch, coat on the armrest. No shoes. He knew. Michael walked toward the bedroom. The door was cracked an inch. From inside, a low voice, hers, a man's reply. Laughter. Not nervous. Familiar. He pushed the door open. Lauren stood by the window, half-turned, blouse unbuttoned. Ryan Seavers sat on the edge of the bed, loosening his tie. He was wearing Michael's blazer, the one that had been left on the hallway chair that morning. They both froze. Michael stepped inside, calm, straight posture. "Don't stop on my account," he said quietly. "We've never tried a threesome." Seavers stood up fast, pulling the jacket tighter. "This is a misunderstanding." "Oh?" Michael smiled. "So this isn't my wife, and that's not my bed." Lauren didn't move, didn't cover herself. Her expression was unreadable.
"You don't get to act like this was inevitable." He replied, "You don't get to act like this was inevitable." He turned to Severs. "Take off my jacket." Severs scoffed. "You're serious?" Michael took a step closer. "Take it off." Severs slowly slipped off the blazer and set it on the corner of the bed. Michael looked him in the eyes, then slapped him hard across the face. The sound cracked like a branch in cold air. Severs took a half step back. No comeback. He turned and walked out without a word. Lauren buttoned her blouse slowly, still calm. "You think that changes anything?" "No," Michael said, "but it puts everything in the right place." She picked up her purse. "I'm not moving out." "You will. You'll have no choice once your accounts freeze." She hesitated. That landed. "You're bluffing. Try me." She walked past him, out the door. Michael sat down at the edge of the bed. His bed. His house. Finally, quiet.
The next morning was sharp and cold. Sunlight caught on the icy edges of the roof. Michael stood in the kitchen, coffee untouched, staring at the marble countertop, the same one Lauren had insisted on upgrading. His phone buzzed. Unknown caller. He picked up. "Mr. Lawson?" "Yes." "This is Mark Ellison, attorney for Lauren Lawson. I've been asked to formally inform you that she's pursuing separation. Our request is simple. You vacate the marital residence within 10 business days. In exchange, she's willing to avoid litigation over the unlawful surveillance." Michael cut him off. "She committed fraud, destroyed my career, and slept with a man whose firm has been targeting me for months. And now she wants to negotiate? There's no need to escalate, Mr. Lawson." "Oh, I haven't even started." He ended the call. Almost immediately, his banking app pinged. 3 wire transfers, flagged as scheduled. He opened the transaction history, all routed through the investment account they'd once opened jointly, the same account Lauren had locked him out of. But the documents claimed otherwise. Each transfer included his digital signature. He pulled up the PDF. Scanned, signed, certified. Except it wasn't his signature. Not even close. He printed it, highlighted the key fields, wrote in the margin, "Forgery, spousal fraud." Then he opened his secure folder and uploaded it under Legal, Financial Crimes, Tier 1, Active. Then came the message from Marina. "Got your docs. We're forwarding them to internal counsel for review. P.S. Someone's moving fast. We're seeing account transfers tied to at least 2 shell companies in the Caymans." Michael typed one sentence in reply. "And they haven't even started to panic yet." A knock on the door. He checked the peephole. Black BMW, of course. Severs stood outside, designer coat, leather gloves, no shame. Michael opened the door and stepped out. "Bold move," he said. "I figured we should talk without cameras. You afraid of being recorded now?" Severs gave a half shrug. "You've made your point. But this ends badly for you if you push it. You're broke, alone, the legal system's slow, and I'm already 10 steps ahead." "You're mistaken." "About what?" "About me being alone." Severs narrowed his eyes. "You don't have the reach." "No," Michael replied, "but I do have the receipts." He stepped forward, voice low. "You wore my jacket. You sat on my bed, and you touched something that was never yours." Severs tensed. Michael leaned in closer. "You think this is a war? It's not. This is a ledger, and your balance is about to come due." He turned and walked back inside. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. 3 weeks later, it hit the front page of the Denver Tribune. Private equity powerhouse under federal investigation for coordinated career sabotage scheme.
Subheadline: Michael Lawson, former corporate director, provides evidence of a targeted effort to discredit and disable professionals across finance and real estate. The article was brutal. Dates, quotes, financial trails, blurred but recognizable audio from the hallway camera. Lauren's voice unmistakable. It's all falling into place. He's unraveling. He has no idea. A week later, Ryan Seaver's firm suspended all operations. 2 of its board members resigned. A third flipped and turned over internal communications to Marina Castell's office. Then came the subpoenas, asset freezes, quiet settlements, public apologies. Seavers disappeared from LinkedIn, then from public view entirely. Lauren didn't vanish, but she didn't thrive either. Her brokerage dropped her. Several clients filed ethical concerns. Whispers circulated. And then one day, her face on the news. Not in handcuffs, but standing outside the courthouse, sunglasses hiding the damage. She sent Michael one text. "You could have ended this differently. You didn't have to humiliate me." He stared at it for a long time, then deleted it. No reply. She showed up once, stood outside the house for 10 minutes, didn't ring the doorbell, then got back in an Uber and left. Michael never saw her again. Weeks passed, then months. Michael declined every interview, ignored every podcast offer, said no to book deals. He didn't want to become a brand. One morning in early spring, he stood on the front porch of the house he now legally owned, alone. Coffee in hand, sky overcast but clear. No lawsuits pending, no leverage left to hold over him. Just quiet. He stepped inside, opened his laptop, and created one last folder. Final. Inside it, one document. You don't win these things with rage. You win them with clarity. And the clarity comes when you stop trying to get back what was taken and start building something that can't be touched. He saved the file, closed the laptop, stepped outside. No bitterness, no revenge fantasy, just air and space and forward.